What the media never revealed about Kate McCann could completely change the way you think about the case. Today, I'm going to expose a truth that has been hidden for years, a crucial detail that was ignored that night, something that could have changed everything but was never revealed until now. If you love uncovering mysteries like this one and want to follow our darkest investigations, subscribe to the channel now and hit the bell so you don't miss a single detail of our upcoming cases. On a night in Praia da Luz, Portugal, the heavy silence seemed to carry something dark. Kate McCann glanced at the clock, restless. However, in apartment 5A, something was about to change forever. Kate McCann and her husband Jerry had decided to have dinner with friends at the resort's restaurant, just a few meters away from the apartment. They left the children, Madeleine, 3 years old, and the younger twins, sleeping in the room with the windows slightly open to let the night air cool the place. They took turns checking on the kids to make sure everything was fine. Kate walked down the sidewalk, listening to the sound of her own footsteps, trying to shake off the constant worry that had followed her since becoming a mother. As she entered the apartment, the silence felt thick, oppressive. She went straight to the children's room, where the twins were sleeping soundly. The emptiness of Madeleine's bed made Kate's heart stop. No, this can't be happening, she thought, feeling reality slip through her fingers. She scanned the room, but the silence was deafening. Madeleine! The word echoed through the empty apartment, but there was no response. Kate's eyes darted around the room, then through the living room, and within seconds, she was back at the restaurant, running, her breath quickening, with a single desperate phrase in her mind. She's gone! Jerry stood up quickly when he saw her approaching, but Kate's words made him freeze. Madeleine's not there! She's gone! The search began, but there was something strange about Kate's behavior that few noticed. Shortly after realizing the disappearance, her reaction was described as cold and calculated, something that raised suspicions among investigators, but was quickly ignored by the media. This detail would become crucial in the investigations later. The hours passed, and each minute without news of Madeleine made the air heavier, filled with fear and uncertainty. Kate and Jerry, though ordinary people up until that moment, soon found themselves at the center of one of the most famous cases in the world. But who were these people? Before the disappearance, Kate and Jerry were respected doctors and dedicated parents, balancing their careers with their love for family. Jerry, a cardiologist, also shared this love for family. He was dedicated to his work and his family, always believing he could balance both. For them, this trip to Portugal was an opportunity to relax, to spend time together and with friends. They could never have imagined the nightmare that awaited them. Now, with their daughter missing, the pressure on them began to mount. The media arrived quickly, turning their private life into a global spectacle. Every day that passed without answers, the world turned more and more towards Kate and Jerry, searching for signs of guilt or sadness. That same night, something changed forever, not only for the McCann family, but for the village of Praia da Luz itself. The search for Madeleine continued unsuccessfully, and the police began investigating other possibilities beyond a simple kidnapping. After all, how could a child disappear from a room without anyone noticing? The first suspicions began to spread. That's when British sniffer dogs were brought in. They soon marked two crucial spots: behind the apartment's sofa and in the trunk of the car the McCanns rented weeks after the disappearance. The implications were terrifying. There was something hidden in the shadows of this case that no one could yet explain. The versions of the friends, known as the Tapas 7 group, began to contradict each other. One of these inconsistencies, which was barely explored by the media, involved the exact time the children were checked on. Some witnesses reported that the checks did not happen as described, suggesting that someone within the group might be hiding something. Nights where Kate woke up terrified, reliving the moment she found her daughter's bed empty, became constant. It was impossible not to feel the guilt gnawing at every thought. I should have stayed with her, she would say to herself. Jerry, meanwhile, tried to keep hope alive, but the weight of doubt began to suffocate hope. Was Madeleine still alive? Could the parents themselves have had something to do with the disappearance? The days following Madeleine's disappearance were a whirlwind. Every minute without news felt like an eternity for Kate and Jerry as their world crumbled around them. The media was on top of them. Reporters asked questions no one knew the answers to. Where is Madeleine was the only question that really mattered, but no one had that answer. The first major obstacle was the investigation itself. The Portuguese police initially treated the case as a possible kidnapping, but as the days turned into weeks without any concrete leads, things began to shift. Soon, the parents themselves started being treated as suspects. Imagine the impact of that. A couple desperate for their missing daughter suddenly being interrogated as if they were responsible. Kate began to exhibit behavior that investigators found disturbing. She didn't show the kind of desperation expected from a grieving mother, which raised many suspicions. In a critical moment, during an interview with the police, she refused to answer several questions, a choice that still raises doubts to this day. Did she know more than she was revealing? Tensions between the Portuguese and British police also began to grow. The investigation, which should have focused on finding the girl, soon turned into a battle of contradictory versions and a series of mistakes that only made everything more difficult. It was as if, instead of searching for Madeleine, they were in a war of accusations. This deeply affected Kate and Jerry, who were already emotionally shattered. Every new headline, every crazy theory that surfaced in the newspapers only plunged them further into despair. Jerry tried to stay calm, clinging to the hope that his daughter was still alive. "We're going to find her," he would say, more to himself than to Kate. He needed to believe that, but Kate, on the other hand, began to withdraw. She could barely talk to the people around her, including Jerry. The guilt, the fear, the sense of helplessness, all mixed together in a whirlwind of emotions that left her on the verge of a breakdown. The group of friends who were with them on the trip also began to feel the pressure. Their statements didn't add up. The timelines they gave for checking on the children seemed contradictory, and this only fueled more suspicions. Are they hiding something? Many began to ask. But what could it be? Had they been negligent that night, or had something worse happened? Things came to a head when months later, Kate and Jerry were formally declared arguidos, or suspects, by the Portuguese authorities. What had started as a desperate search for their daughter now turned into a legal nightmare. Kate, who until then had tried to hold on to some hope, broke down completely. She refused to answer the police's questions, claiming they were trying to incriminate her instead of finding Madeleine. This can't be happening, she thought. They're looking in the wrong place. Meanwhile, the world media turned even more against the couple. Speculative headlines, unfounded theories, and a brutal public trial began to dominate the news. Kate, who had always been a private person focused on her family, now found herself on the covers of tabloids as a villain. How can they think this of me? She wondered, fighting back tears. The most tense moment came when one of the lead investigators in the case, Gonzalo Amaral, published a book claiming that Madeleine had died in the apartment and that the McCanns had covered it up. For Kate and Jerry, it was like a stab to the heart. Not only did they still have no answers about where their daughter was, but now they were being accused of being responsible for her death. By this point, Kate no longer knew what to feel. The fear of never seeing her daughter again, mixed with the anger of being treated as guilty. What has happened to our lives, she thought, wondering if she would ever have the chance to hold Madeleine again. From the moment Kate and Jerry were declared suspects, everything around them began to collapse. The calm that had existed in the first few weeks of the search was replaced by a constant feeling of persecution. The media wouldn't leave them alone, and every headline seemed crueler than the last. The house where they were staying became blinding flashes invaded the windows, and the constant sound of camera clicks filled the silence of the night. Kate, consumed by guilt and silence, couldn't think of anything but Madeleine. What else could she have done that night? Will we ever find Madeleine? She wondered, her heart heavy. The silence of the nights was unbearable. The emptiness left by her daughter seemed to grow larger each day. Sometimes Kate would sit on the sofa, clutching one of Madeleine's toys, trying to remember her laughter. But it was as if the memories were fading. Jerry, on the other hand, tried to remain strong. He spent hours in front of the computer, in contact with private detectives and the British police, trying to organize any lead that could bring them to his daughter. But even he knew that the chances were diminishing. Every new investigation led to a dead end. Every phone call he made brought the same empty response: "We're doing our best." The pressure on them only increased. In addition to dealing with their daughter's disappearance, they now had to prove their innocence. The police's questions became increasingly aggressive, insinuating that they were hiding something. Their lawyer advised Kate not to answer any more questions, and that's what she did. During one of the interrogations, as the investigator asked questions about the night of the disappearance, she simply crossed her arms and kept her eyes fixed on the floor. The silence in the room was deafening. The tension could be cut with a knife. "Why aren't you answering?" the officer insisted. But Kate remained silent, feeling as though every word she said could be used against her. People who once supported the couple now attacked them on social media, calling them monsters. Cruel comments multiplied, and Kate, already devastated, began to avoid leaving the house. She felt like a prisoner, not only of the situation, but of her own pain. "Do people really think I could hurt my daughter?" she asked Jerry one night, her voice barely a whisper. He didn't answer. How could he? Even he didn't know how to deal with all of it. The situation worsened when the donation funds to find Madeleine came under investigation. The idea that the donated money could be used to pay for lawyers or the McCann's personal lives became another weapon in the media's hands. The couple, already emotionally exhausted, now had to defend themselves not only against accusations about their daughter's disappearance, but also against insinuations that they were financially benefiting from the tragedy. The climax of this public nightmare reached an unbearable point when even the couple's friends began to distance themselves. The suspicions cast on the group that had been with them at dinner created fractures in their friendships, and what had once been a solid support network began to disintegrate. Now Kate and Jerry were truly alone, facing the world's suspicion, while their daughter remained missing, with no one knowing for sure what really happened. As the months passed, the investigation into Madeleine's disappearance lost momentum. The intense searches gave way to uncertainty and frustration, both for the parents and the authorities involved. Kate and Jerry still clung to hope of finding their daughter, but the conflicts that had once been external, with the media and the police, now turned internal. They both began to wrestle with doubt and guilt. One morning, as she looked out at the sea from the window, Kate felt the weight of everything that had happened. The wind gently moved the curtains, and the smell of the ocean brought back memories of the last time they had been there, with Madeleine. She would be running along the beach right now, Kate thought. Time had passed, but the void remained. Jerry entered the room in silence, watching his wife, trying to find the right words. "We did what we could, Kate," he said, his voice low, almost like an apology. Kate turned, her eyes tired, but with a determination on her face that hadn't been there before. "Did we really, Jerry? Did we do everything?" She wasn't looking for an answer, but she needed to ask. The doubt she carried within her seemed to grow with each passing day. The couple began trying to rebuild their lives. They returned to England, but home was not the same. The house where Madeleine had grown up now seemed like an untouched shrine, with her toys, photos, and clothes carefully kept, as if she could return at any moment. But as the months went by, this hope slowly turned into acceptance, a painful acceptance, full of unanswered questions. How does someone simply disappear? Kate would silently ask herself every time she passed by. Portuguese police continued, but eventually the pressure on the McCanns lessened. Kate and Jerry sued the author of the book that accused them of covering up their daughter's death, and the legal battle dragged on for years. But despite winning in court, the stain this accusation left on their lives never fully disappeared. Within herself, Kate began to accept that she might never know what really happened that night. And this acceptance, though tragic, was her way of continuing to live. The look on her face, once marked by deep guilt, now carried a kind of resignation. "I need to keep going for them," she thought, looking at the twins, who were growing up too fast. They needed a present mother, and Kate knew that. No matter how much Madeleine's ghost was always there, she had to move forward. In the end, Madeleine's disappearance became a case known around the world, but one that no one could solve. The clues that emerged over the years led nowhere, and the pain of what was lost mixed with the silence of answers that never came. Jerry returned to work, trying to find normalcy in his routine as a cardiologist, saving lives even though he felt like he had failed to protect his own daughter. Kate, on the other hand, found solace in helping other families going through similar situations. She became involved in awareness campaigns about missing children, turning her pain into something that could have some purpose. "I can't change what happened to Madeleine, but I can help other families avoid the same fate," she would say. And so, life went on. The wound never fully healed, but they learned to live with it. Every birthday of Madeleine's was marked by a small ceremony at home, where they lit a candle and sat in silence together. It was the only way they found to honor the daughter who never came back. Reflecting on everything that had happened, Kate always returned to that night, to that exact moment when she walked into the room and saw the empty bed. Could things have been different? She wondered, but now more as a habit than a real hope for change. The past couldn't be altered, and Kate knew that. The only thing left was the present, to live for the children who were still with her, and to remember Madeleine in the best way possible, with love, not with pain. But have we really seen all the pieces of this puzzle? It's clear that the case of Madeleine McCann remains shrouded in mystery and unanswered questions. The pain and despair Kate and Jerry have endured over the years show us how a tragedy of this magnitude can not only destroy a family, but also leave a mark on the entire world. Even with all the efforts, Madeleine's whereabouts remain unknown. This case raises a disturbing question. Is evil really lurking where we least expect it? As we've seen, Not every monster hides in the shadows. Sometimes it's closer than we think, hiding in the normalcy of everyday life. If you've made it this far, comment. I am a mystery hunter, so I know you watched the video to the end. I want to see how many of you are ready to keep going with me. And of course, if you're not yet a mystery hunter, subscribe now and help uncover the darkest secrets of the human mind. This case may have left a void, but we still have many other mysteries to investigate. Do you have any suggestions for mysteries or intriguing cases you'd like to see on the channel? Leave them in the comments. We're always looking for new stories to uncover, from shocking disappearances to complex crimes that challenge the human mind. Who knows, your suggestion might be the next mystery we investigate together. If you're searching for answers, you won't want to miss the next video. We'll dive even deeper into mysteries that defy logic and make us question what we really know. Click here and get ready to discover the darkest and most intriguing secrets. Don't miss it. And remember, hunters, stay alert because evil might be closer than you think. Until the next investigation.